Hello.
Thank you, Kelley.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, not too bad. Hopefully I wasn't helping with the technical difficulties.
Actually, you made it so I could get in. I couldn't get in before.
Oh, no. Okay, good, good.
What's your problem?
All right, so you just let me know when you are ready for me to get started. I'll just sit tight until you're ready.
Because of the technical issues, Kelley, I'm going to say let's wait just one
Sure.
or two more minutes.
Of course, let's do that.
Did I miss something? Are we waiting on someone?
So I was just waiting a minute. Hi, I'm Shauna. I'm helping Sarah Jackson out. She's having technical issues across everything. So I was just texting her and giving everyone a minute to log in because we have a couple more people coming in. I'm just going to introduce it over to Kelley and say she's talking about the impact on 2E families and let her kind of take it away. If you guys could just make sure you're on mute. And Kelley, do you need me to give you screen sharing ability?
Let me give it a shot here. Let's see what happens. Yes, could you?
Yes. All right, did that work?
Let's try it again. Yes, I think so. Okay. Give me
Great.
just one moment and we should be all set. Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity, and I guess we'll just get started. Let's see. So, there we go. So here is a brief overview of what we'll be covering tonight. I'll start with a bit of an introduction. So I know there are school districts, teachers, administrators, specialists, and clinicians around the country doing incredible work with twice exceptional students. And I understand Montgomery County Public Schools is an example of one of those outstanding districts. I just want to begin by saying thank you for offering a psychologically safe place in which these young people can learn and reach their potential. You're doing important work, so thank you. I'm especially fond of teachers. Two of my siblings have taught in public schools for decades. My daughter is actually planning to pursue secondary education in college, and many teachers have influenced me over the years, and I actually have the privilege of working alongside of many talented teachers in my professional life as well. But one teacher in particular offered our family a haven on a very difficult journey, and for her, we are eternally grateful. This particular experience is what led me to you tonight. I'm here to tell you about my research study involving the stories of twice exceptional kids who didn't have the understanding or the support systems they needed. It's my hope that their success stories someday will sit alongside of these stories, so parents and schools can work together to turn the tides for suffering students. We need more success stories that look beyond the classroom and into the lived experiences of these families. And I encourage you to share the success stories you see in your district every day, so that others across the country who are still trying to figure this all out will help struggling students and families shift from survival mode to thriving. So just a quick minute about me. I actually have a background in marketing and communications. I have worked in a number of industries, most recently the past 10.5 years in higher education. I currently serve as the Director of Communications and Marketing Strategy for the College of Engineering at Michigan State University. I have business degrees, a communications degree, and most recently I graduated with my doctorate from Bridges Graduate School, and that is cognitive diversity in education. On my personal notes, I'm a parent of two very bright and talented kids with drastically different educational journeys. One typical expected experiences from school, that's our daughter, and then extreme emotional distress, worry, and misunderstanding for our 2E son. So my husband and I have two children, they're 16 months apart. Our oldest daughter fared very well in school while our son has suffered. As a desperate, pretty much exhausted and broken parent, I learned the hard way that not all traditional education models make room for all kinds of minds, nor do they foster the strengths and talents of every student, despite what their mission statements might say. So this is our son, Jack. This photo was taken during a very dark time in our lives when Jack's educational journey was an absolute roller coaster. It was a summer vacation in this photo. After we just found out that he missed the cutoff for a pilot pullout gifted program, he missed it by 2 points. Jack tested in superior intelligence ranges at age 5. He was incredibly bright and really yearning to learn, but this was one test, one score, no exceptions. So despite our best efforts to advocate for his abilities and his needs as a twice exceptional student, no one listened. His self-esteem was punctured and his anxiety spun out of control. We watched his mental health and love for learning rapidly deteriorate. And additional assessments proved his giftedness, yet all the school could see was a child who didn't try hard enough and parents who were looking for special treatment for their child. Around the same time, we were told he was placed with a 5th grade teacher who was the teacher to get, air quotes, for the upcoming school year. So we were hopeful. But my husband asked Jack, what would make for a good school year for you? And he answered, teachers who don't make you feel like an idiot or make the class think you're an idiot. So 5th grade with the teacher to get ended up being far more damaging than any other school year for him and for our family. We did everything the mental health counselors and the education experts told us to do, yet he remained in survival mode. Our whole family was exhausted, heartbroken, and pretty lost. So I entered the doctoral program at Bridges Graduate School that summer. The 3-year Bridges journey allowed me to gain the skills and the knowledge that I needed to be able to help Jack and our family. After hiring an educational consultant to secure a 504 we were originally denied, we found the courage to uproot our family, and we moved to a different school district where gifted education and differentiation were priorities. We took a big chance. We moved in the middle of a pandemic, but thankfully it was the right decision. So Jack is now a freshman in high school, and he's thriving in advanced classes surrounded by intellectual peers, and he has access to talent development opportunities and chances to use his strengths and his talents, and he's going to reach his potential. He has supports in place to help him now when he needs it. Things are not perfect, but the boy who believed he was an idiot has been replaced by the curious, bright-eyed, and humorous one we knew before he entered school. It's been an incredible transformation. So guilt and regret still linger for my husband and I. We made a lot of mistakes. But although I'm a true believer in education, parents of twice exceptional students should not have to endure this, let alone the kids themselves. There's more that we can do for these children who do not fit into the traditional education models. We can plug the holes in the dam. So to do this, I believe we must understand their stories. And this brings me to my qualitative research study conducted in 2022. Lived experiences of twice exceptional students and their families, the effects of toxic stress in learning environments. So the qualitative study was designed to explore and describe the stress associated with educational experiences of twice exceptional students who had difficult or traumatic experiences in school. The purpose of the study was to bring attention to the significant adverse impact of toxic stress and the resulting educational trauma on twice exceptional students and their families by capturing and conveying their stories. The intended impact of this study was to illuminate the intersection of stress and learning and the gaps between what families experienced and the objectives for education. Three theories or theoretical frameworks that I based my research study on are the cognitive activation theory of stress by Urson and Erickson, polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges, and window of tolerance, which is actually a concept developed by Siegel and then further developed by Ogden, Minton, and Payne. So cognitive theories assume thoughts are the primary determinants of emotions and behavior. So I'll go through each one of these very briefly just to give you an idea. So Katz describes the features of stress, and it helps to explain how stressful experiences progress. It tells us that occasional stress trains the brain, while stress sustained over time strains the brain. Trains the brain and strains the brain. Of particular note, it explores what happens when the unpleasantness of internal alarms that pose no health to threat, or no threat to health, in the short term, are endured over time. Alarms are described as what happens when there's a discrepancy between what should be and what is. For 2E students, alarms at all levels may be going off constantly throughout the school day. And although they may be equipped to manage occasional low-level alarms, a barrage of alarms at any level affects their physiological systems, requiring the student to use the same critical resources they could otherwise use for learning. Typical classroom expectations and interventions may not account for the fact that a student does not always have conscious control over their emotions, behaviors, and reactions. This is where polyvagal theory comes in. The theory suggests our evaluation of risk does not require conscious awareness, but rather is an automatic process by which we evaluate cues in the environment that determine safety, danger, or life threat. Students may be unaware of what triggers them, but quite aware of how their body reacts to them. The theory may help explain why twice exceptional students, or any student for that matter, may experience difficulty meeting expectations in the typical classroom. Despite the fact that there's no real threat, their body may be in a state that supports defense. Window of tolerance describes that there's an ideal and unique state in which individuals are able to function and thrive in everyday life. When we operate within this window, we're able to learn effectively, play, and relate well to others. As arousal levels reach the upper limits of the window of tolerance, physiological changes in the body take place, automatically triggering survival systems. Over time, traumatic experiences can narrow a child's window of tolerance, making it more difficult for them to tap into strategies for managing distress. When their limits are reached in school, their resources again are diverted toward survival rather than learning. I chose qualitative research because research methods in this form allow for the exploration of experiences, perceptions, and behaviors. The semi-structured interviews that I conducted allowed me to collect lived experiences in a meaningful way. And it allows for the understanding of experiences, but not predicting or controlling the research. So qualitative research was really the only way to go for me if I was focused on stories. So 5 families participated in my study. The study was not about specific learning disabilities, differences, or strategies, but rather what it's like for 5 families with 2E kids to navigate the educational system. For reference, the students attested and their parents attested to an IQ of 120 or higher, diagnosed learning disability, and difficulty with school experiences. So now I would like to move into sharing stories about the 5 participants: Adam, Brian, Claire, Dana, and Elliot. Adam expressed a significant appetite for learning from a young age, yet he described experiencing boredom, irrelevant lessons, repetition of content already mastered, and a lack of choice throughout his K-12 experience. He missed the cutoff for his public school elementary gifted program by mere points. Despite his parents' advocacy, Adam was forced to watch his intellectual peers benefit from a multi-year program without him. Adam often was considered disrespectful by his teachers because of his need to move, question things, and apply logic during classroom experiences. Teachers felt challenged by him. While in elementary school, his parents received many phone calls regarding what they perceived to be behavioral issues. Rather than seen as gifted and questioning, he was seen as a behavior challenge. They knew their son was really struggling. Adam's mother described her son as holding his breath all day and falling into her arms when stepping off the elementary bus each day, sobbing and struggling to breathe. Adam wanted more academic challenge in school, but was denied due to a lack of testing evidence. Interestingly, he easily qualified for gifted programs outside of school. Adam's parents were reticent to share testing information revealing his twice exceptional profile for fear he would be labeled. They also felt any focus on Adam's learning disability would be detrimental to his chances of gifted program admittance, so a 504 was never sought. Instead, they pursued gifted learning opportunities on their own and managed his learning differences unsupported. Adam left his public school district in 6th grade to attend a gifted school and then went on to an international baccalaureate program, both in a nearby district. Again, programs he easily qualified for through testing. There, he endured extreme stress and academic pressure, which led to significant social and emotional challenges. Most concerning was a student culture fixated on suicide and suicidal ideation. His parents pulled him from school mid-year to seek immediate mental health counseling. With nowhere else to turn, Adam went back to his original public school and remained there through high school graduation. His parents described changing schools 3 times in search of an appropriate learning environment. They struggled to know what to do as learning environments fed just one half of him. None of the schools were appropriate. He was misplaced in all of them. Adam felt supported only by the teachers with the ability or willingness to understand him as he struggled with extreme boredom, waiting to learn something. Although eager to enter high school where more choice and advanced courses would become available, Adam was disappointed to find advanced learning opportunities woefully lacking. Throughout Adam's K-12 experience, his parents faced resistance from school administration and teachers when advocating for his needs, and they lived with significant stress and frustration at home. His mother described the most difficult experiences with her son as walking on eggshells so as not to disturb the bear downstairs. Adam's father deeply believed teaching to the masses hurts the outliers like his son. The stress, exhaustion, and frustration experienced by his parents was evident. Adam and his parents were hopeful college would be different, and Adam was counting on it. Now we'll look at the story of Brian. Brian was an extremely bright child and assessed for giftedness in second grade. It was during this assessment that his twice exceptional profile was revealed. Brian struggled to find relevance, logical connections, or interest in school curriculum from an early age, and described developing an incredible tolerance for boredom. He was advanced in math and able to complete most classwork in all subjects faster than his peers. He described enduring a painfully slow pace of learning as he waited for the class to catch up. Brian's parents decided to keep him in the same traditional public school for his entire K-12 experience. They were uneasy about Brian starting over socially and decided to stick with what was familiar. Although Brian's diagnosed learning disability could have qualified him for a 504 or IEP, his parents feared the labels that came along with them would be detrimental to his success and self-esteem. Instead, his parents regularly advocated for him to get help with his challenges. They were faced with unwilling administrators and teachers who said his good grades were too good to qualify for support. Brian developed coping mechanisms to deal with the boredom in school, including pulling out a book when his work was finished. Many teachers took offense to that and went so far as to take his books away and call his parents to complain about his unacceptable behavior. Brian lacked intellectual peers and felt he had no one to talk to about abstract concepts. He experienced great difficulty relating to others and often acted out and got into trouble at school. His father recalled regular phone calls from the school, and each time he would ask himself what it could possibly be this time. Growing up, Brian's relationship with his father was troubled. It wasn't until he graduated from high school that the two began to mend their relationship. Brian's older brother, Noah, described them as mortal enemies as kids, as the tension and stress related to Brian's school experiences seeped into their home life and family. Noah often would leave the home to escape the latest eruption over Brian, but years later would feel deep regret for not offering his brother the same escape. Brian's respite was found with two high school teachers who took the time to understand him. One left the district after just a short time, and the other taught just a few classes Brian needed to graduate. A vocational program offered through the Technical Education Center in their district offered Brian a second lifeline. The opportunity to be part of a half-day, hands-on program gave him the strength to slog through the rest of the school day in traditional classrooms. Brian's mother seemed to be closest to him and described significant worry, stress, frustration, and exhaustion. She shared that she and her husband fully expected to lose Brian to drugs because school was so grueling for him. Brian's father expressed great frustration as advanced learners went largely unsupported, yet in his mind were just as worthy of resources and attention. Brian described his K-12 experience as 13 years of waiting for it to be done. Although his advanced abilities in math specifically could have opened many doors in college, he couldn't handle the prospect of sitting and waiting for 4 more years. He said the idea of it was just worse than hell. Here's Claire's story. Claire's mother described believing Claire would knock it out of the park in school, but instead all hell broke loose. Claire had tested in the 99th percentile for intelligence at a young age. Her parents suspected she may have learning challenges, but struggled to obtain accurate assessments for learning disabilities, with a winding road of inconclusive results and changing diagnoses over the course of several years. Claire's mother described Claire as 5, 10, and 15 years old at the same time, and regularly losing it at home after not having the developmental capacity to make it through the school day. She had extreme difficulty relating to her peers and lacked any sense of connection to them, describing herself as lonely. Claire described elementary and middle school as a nightmare, sharing experiences of micro and macroaggressions by teachers and students. She believed she was targeted because of her differences and often felt chastised for being who she was. Claire's mom described practitioners prescribing off-the-charts medication and trying every drug there was over the course of several years. Claire began to even out with her peers academically, which her mother thought to be due to the inflexibility of teachers and curriculum. In search of an appropriate learning environment, Claire changed schools numerous times, trying traditional, public, private, and gifted schools. Both Claire and her mother shared the gifted school experience was the most traumatic. Claire complained of always being tired and experiencing significant memory loss related to the most traumatic stretches in school. Claire was denied support in elementary school because her grades were too good, but her mother successfully advocated for a 504 in middle school and an IEP in high school. As Claire matured, her mother taught her to advocate for herself and began serving as more of a sounding board. Both Claire and her mom noted a distinct lack of strength-based talent-focused opportunities in all learning environments. And her mother recalled experiencing difficult finding acknowledgement, support, and resources as a family of color. Claire's mother chose full-time advocacy over her career as a college professor, sharing that she gave her life to this. On the advocacy journey, she experienced extreme stress and physical manifestations leading to fear of an early heart attack, PTSD symptoms, and long-term exhaustion. She recalls watching Claire's smile fade over time in pictures. As she shifted her advocacy focus from getting Claire to be like all the other kids to helping her live her best life, things began to change for both of them. This is Dana's story. Dana received dramatically different assessment results and changing diagnoses along the way, making for a very difficult journey. Their giftedness was identified first. As they performed average academically despite their giftedness, they knew they needed help but couldn't convince adults of it. Dana shared, "Nobody realized how much I was struggling and how unable I was to show up." Their frustration led to school avoidance and truancy. Knowing baseline average was not the best they could do, Dana struggled knowing adults were content to accept it. Dana changed schools multiple times, searching for an appropriate learning environment, attending Montessori, gifted magnet, traditional public, and a competency-based high school. Dana's mother described their time at the gifted magnet middle school as especially bumpy and very dark. Dana described being bullied for their differences and shared having thoughts of suicide and extreme mental health challenges. Traumatic interactions with teachers were difficult to forget as they were accused of being lazy. Although Dana's mother obtained a 504 for Dana in early middle school, they experienced significant difficulty with teacher follow-through. Dana's mother agonized over the decision to pull Dana from school, to decompress, see, and stop fighting who your child was. She described significant energy invested in explaining and defending the decision to family and friends, as constant questioning and doubting by others became a part of everyday life. Dana's mother recalls digging deep to combat her own doubts and trust her gut and intuition in order to follow through. It turns out the time away from school gave her child time to find themselves. She described a diagnosis in late middle school as the missing link, which helped them move forward and begin to repair Dana's self-concept. Both noted a distinct lack of strength-based talent-focused opportunities, a disproportionate focus on Dana's learning differences, and limited access to advanced learning in school. That is until they started the competency-based high school, where Dana began to find the challenge and support they needed to reach their potential. Dana's mother expressed deep regret for not understanding Dana's 2E profile earlier and for not moving to intervention and advocacy sooner. Once her profile clearly came into view, Dana's mom saw a whole different kid. The child she worried might not finish high school, let alone go to college, now wants to get their PhD. And our last story is Elliot's. Elliot scored in the top 100 or 1%, for IQ in kindergarten. The public school had never seen such scores. Misunderstood by most teachers, Elliot could learn and retain anything the teacher said, but to most teachers, he appeared to be elsewhere. Elliot experienced extreme frustration over the slow pace, standardized curriculum, rote memorization, and repeated content year after year. He found himself disinterested in subject matter most of the time in school, but able to ace tests, masking his need for support. He described being able to learn without any real effort, but also described experiencing persistent difficulty completing classwork and homework. Elliot struggled with executive function, lagging social skills, delayed emotional maturity, and described his parents as his frontal lobe. It took multiple assessments over multiple years to piece together his 2E profile, even then with conflicting diagnoses all the way. He yearned for someone to talk to, as the lack of intellectual peers and no real friends or connections in school wore on him. Described by his family as having persistent outbursts, destructive behaviors, and zoning out, he described himself as waiting patiently to graduate. Although they considered different paths, Elliot's parents decided to keep him in the same school district for his entire K-12 experience. They were convinced by the district that opportunities and support were available for every student. His parents went on to describe an ongoing lack of strength-based talent-focused opportunities and a constant search for advanced learning outside of school. Although the request for a 504 initially was denied due to his IQ score being too high, a 504 was granted in middle school. Subsequent diagnoses justified an IEP, but one was never sought, as the school explained the 504 was all Elliot needed to succeed. Elliot's parents differed in their approaches with him, yet agreed they'd tried everything with only short-lived successes. They were always searching for new tools and resources to help them get through even a single day. His mother described abandoning her career to hold things together for the family. She explained feeling run down and struggling emotionally and physically. Both parents described experiencing stress and exhaustion, with their energy consumed by Elliot, leaving little for his 2 younger brothers. Elliot's 15-year-old brother Ethan described a difficult relationship with Elliot, with most challenges related to Elliot's struggles with homework. He felt he and the youngest brother were slighted because of the time and energy their parents focused on Elliot. However, he went on to depict his brother as a whole different person during summer vacation, when they were away from school and enjoying each other's company. All family members described a special bond between Elliot and his youngest brother, Evan, who himself was twice exceptional. The parents shared that Evan often defended Elliot when things became difficult at home, also describing common instances when the two would spend entire days together exploring and discovering. Elliot expressed sadness over a lack of social acceptance for people like himself, adding that he wondered if he would be a different person today if the world were more accepting. So from these stories, I concluded students suffer in traditional learning environments when their basic needs are not met. Healthy development is jeopardized by the prolonged activation of the stress response. And cultivating strengths and talents is often overlooked, yet it is essential for some learners to escape survival mode and reach their potential. So here is a long list of common experiences. We'll move through this fairly quickly. The differences between the stress that promoted achievement and that which challenged students was obvious. The resources they needed for learning were often siphoned off to deal with the stress and the trauma experienced in school. The behavior patterns they fell prey to were difficult to break, given repeated exposure to the same stimuli and stress. Struggles with anxiety, depression, obsessive behaviors, PTSD, resulted in mental health and behavioral counseling and medication, or the need for those. Nervous systems were in a state of defense. The social engagement systems were not activated, and there was no detection of cues of safety. Emotions, behaviors, and reactions were signals reflecting the state of the nervous system. Challenging, disruptive, or non-compliant behaviors may not have been within the student's conscious control. Arousal levels exceeded the tolerance, creating difficulties with learning, interacting, and managing. Learning processes were disrupted by overwhelming emotions and distress. Academic potential was not reached, as ability to manage stressors diminished over time. And the state of the nervous system was not considered, as interventions and strategies were developed and implemented. All families pieced together and learned to embrace their child's 2E profile over a very long journey. They all described individual teachers who offered havens, understanding, and lifelines. They all experienced relief and strength-based talent-focused learning outlets in and out of school. And they pointed to advocacy as integral to their child's well-being and ability to succeed. And they all expressed guarded hope for the future. I would also like to share that all 5 families asked me to share their stories, because they hope that the things they've gone through and their stories will help others avoid similar situations, and those helping them in school systems to better recognize what's really happening in the students' lives. So one place to start might be to ask questions. I believe we need to consider the unique, twice exceptional child in front of us. So those parenting, teaching, and supporting twice exceptional students often are on a constant hunt for new interventions and strategies as they run out of things to try. So to position the individual student for success and for well-being, I, along with many of my peers in the Bridges program, believe that we should reset by asking some simple questions. And these could be asked by parents, teachers, administrators, specialists, clinicians. Under what conditions does this child thrive? Under what conditions does this child struggle? What activities does this child initiate at home, school, or outside of school that really bring them joy or relief? Who really understands this child? And where are the talent development opportunities for this child? And I just need to say there are so many silver linings. So I started my presentation, and hopefully everyone had joined by that point in time, thanking your district for doing what you do for twice exceptional students and their families. It's unfortunately not the norm in our nation. And although my research was really focused on those students who are struggling, I just want to acknowledge the important work of educators, administrators, specialist parents, who really do make a positive difference every day for twice exceptional students. Thank you. Please keep going. More families need you for sure. If you are interested in some light reading, you are welcome to take a look at my dissertation. I will post the link in the chat, and I will also provide a PDF version of this PowerPoint if you're interested in following the link from that. I'm happy to do that. So this concludes my prepared slides. It has really been my honor to be here, and I thank you so much for your attention. We can move into discussion mode if anyone would like to ask questions, or if you have comments on the research.